So the next piece that I'm going to do for you is a bit of a long piece, a little bit of a journey that I'm going to take you on, and it's a new piece. It's inspired by a couple of things. There's a couple things that I think might help to know to contextualize the piece. So there's a famous Canadian folk song by a famous Canadian folk singer called Stan Rogers. And Stan Rogers is, among many of his great songs, one of the songs that is really part of the folk canon is a song called The Northwest Passage. So good, all right, you're familiar with the song. We're off to a good start. So I saw a video of Stan Rogers, an archival video. He passed away a number of years ago, and I watched this video fairly recently that was him being interviewed about a number of things. And one of the things that really stuck with me that he said was about the folk tradition. And he spoke about how the definition of the folk tradition is that songs change over time, and that a song that goes into that canon ceases to have an owner, and it becomes, each person who sings it changes it a little and makes their mark on it and makes it their own. And he said that the greatest honor for him as a folk singer would be to have that happen to his songs, for them for people to make their mark on them and to change them. So I took that as a blessing. So there's two songs that this piece uses. One of them is the Northwest Passage by Stan Rogers, and the other is a song that's reported to be written by the widow of Sir John Franklin. It's called Lady Franklin's Lament. So you'll hear those two pieces within this piece. Oh, for just one time, I would take the Northwest Passage to find the hand of Franklin reaching for the Beaufort Sea, tracing one warm line through a land so wide savage, to make a Northwest Passage to the sea. There is a remarkable nerve that runs through the human body, the vagus nerve, also known as the rambler or the wanderer. Vagus is the longest nerve in the central nervous system. It wanders from brainstem to colon. Along the way, innerve, the outer ear, the lungs, the throat, portions of the viscera, and on its journey back to the voice box, it circles the heart. For just one time, I would take the Northwest Passage to find the hand of Franklin reaching for the Beaufort Sea, tracing one warm line through a land so wide and savage, to make a Northwest Passage to the sea. the lines on a map of a country, to chart the way to the heart of a country, to explore, to stake a claim, to go down in history, make a name for yourself. Write your name on the spot on the map, claim you found it, but does that make it yours? What does discover mean? To be pointed in the right direction by someone who will not be named, someone who knows the frozen land like the back of their weathered hand, someone about whom no song will be written. Look closer. Consider the lines, the roads and waterways spreading, nervous system of a continent, a vast network, a fine mesh, filigree reaching every extremity, a sentient, living system where nothing is alone, everything is connected, everything is felt. If not at the point of original contact, then still somewhere. To chart a path through what is uncharted, to attempt to sail through what is frozen, to set out from home in 1845 on two 350-ton boats, bound for the Canadian Arctic, equipped with 129 sailors, a 3-year supply of food, bone china, proper teapots, silver cutlery, to never be heard from again. Frozen water, frozen men, waiting for the thaw, then starting again, to try to make passage quickly before running water turns solid, to freeze and thaw, thaw and freeze, to slowly starve, to eat your leather boots rather than to ask for help from the people who know how to weather this winter, to be poisoned by the lead solder of your own tin cans, to die of starvation, tuberculosis, lead poisoning, botulism or scurvy, pneumonia, hypothermia, possibly cannibalism. To be devoured by wolves, to be devoured by ambition, to be driven to the known ends of the known earth or the unknown ends of the unknown earth, to live with ice, to try surviving, to die trying. Oh, for just one time I would take the Northwest Passage. I would find the hand of Franklin, reaching for the Beaufort Sea, tracing the white warm line through a land so wide and savage, to make a Northwest Passage to the sea. I was raised in a tradition of squeeze boxes in the kitchen, heads thrown back, gut strings thrumming, the stomping of feet, believing in the songs that I was raised with. Songs sung from stages, by fireplaces, around bonfires, sacred fires, standing in circles, standing in lines, circumnavigating the globe in song. You know you are home when you know all the words. The song is a heartbeat, involuntary. Tradition is a hand-me-down. It is the way things are done without question. It is what you are given to pass on. It is what will live on after you are gone. My father loved a good old-fashioned folk song. A good sad song or a lusty sing-along. Shanties, sailors, songs of the sea, drinking, carousing, the good times and adventure. Old songs handed down over generations, or new songs that sound like old songs that tell of the old ways going, gone. Colorful songs that paint a bleak landscape, great white north. Singing a world beyond the world he knew, the songs of frozen ghosts who also dreamed of discovery. We were homeward bound one night on the deep. Swinging in my hammock, I fell asleep. I dreamed a dream and I thought it true, concerning Franklin and his gallant crew. With 100 seamen he sailed away to the frozen ocean in the month of May, seeking passage around the pole, where we poor sailors do sometimes go. My father was a family man, but often absent. The sound of his guitar and singing, familiar but private, wrapped in solitude, a practice that should not be interrupted, the soul of an artist always yearning for something more. Wanderlust, the wandering nerve. Vegas, the nerve of those men, their courage and audacity trying to find that elusive, almost mythical passageway by water. The object of so many frozen, failed expeditions. A trail of breadcrumbs, their names planted like flags, like hope over the crust of the north, determined they would not be turned back, but find a way through, willing to trade their lives, or the lives of others, for a dream. Through cruel hardships they vainly strove. Their ships on mountains of ice were drove. Only the Eskimo with his skin canoe was the only one who ever came through. Oh, for just one time I would take the Northwest Passage, tracing one warm line through a land so wide, and I have my reservations about speaking this word, singing this word, savage. We have made reservations, and they are not an adequate solution. We have tried to make reparation, issued apologies, compensation, identity cards, tax breaks, but money is not enough. Words are not enough. The damage is too deep. It goes back too many generations. Colonial passage was wide and savage. We hear about suicides again in the paper, substance abuse, substantial abuses. We think about all that was taken away from this wide and savage land and its original residents. We consider the word reserve. Picture the stiff upper lips of our colonial fathers who turned desire and longing into empire, dominion. We consider how our mothers taught us always to return a thing better than the way we found it. it. How we have instead put fences around the land when in fact fences are futile. How the ankle bone's connected to the leg bone, land bone to water bone. How water circulates, pollution circulates, dis-ease circulates, not reserved only for those who created it. Those who made the bed are not the only ones who lie in it. Oh, just one time I would take the Northwest Passage to find Franklin reaching for the open sea. Common knowledge now that the Northwest Passage is no longer in hiding. That long-imagined international trade route is now becoming passable for more months of the year, opening up new possibilities for global circumnavigation. When water never thaws, it might as well be land. You can stand on it. You can live on it. But what happens when the temperature rises and the land you live on starts shrinking, passing from one state into another, becoming water? Can you still call it yours? Can you still call it Canada? What else can be discovered? What song does the melting ice sing? Is it the aria of the Russian flag planted deep underwater on the continental shelf where it juts into the Arctic Sea? Or is it the choir of Norway, Finland, Greenland, Denmark, Sweden, Iceland, America? Canada, they chorus, you are not the only Arctic nation. At the top of the world we share an ocean. These are international waters. Arctic sovereignty croons our Prime Minister. But there is no heart in his song. Everyone can see his beady, greedy eye is fixed on the black gold that is hiding under the ice. Maybe it's the ancient guttural sound of the Innu elders, throat singing, passing the winter in song, passing a song from one mouth to another. Maybe it's the echo of every beating heart that ever slowed, stopped, grew cold. The spirit deserting the body, frozen in time, the bones left behind. Memory. In Baffin's Bay where the whalefish blow, the fate of Franklin no man may know. The fate of Franklin no tongue can tell. Lord Franklin alone with his sailors to live with ice, to live with winter that never ends, to tough it out or to ask for help, to eat whale blubber or lead soldered tin cans, to bring out the fine china, to hear the keening of icebergs cracking, melting, thunderous, falling into the ocean, to hold ourselves responsible, to watch the ice separate, melt, to discover the sensation of melting in the chest, warmth, softening, sadness, forgiveness, to amend, to call Canada our home on native land, to make amends, to make a mess of it, to see the consequences, to see human beings hanging from the ceilings of their despair, to see the consequences for future generations, to look within, to own our mistakes, to own your own, to find your own Northwest Passage, that frozen place that might thaw and allow you through, allow connection, safe passage between the continent of yourself and the continent of another. And now my burden, it gives me pain. For my long-lost Franklin, I would cross the main. 10,000 pounds would I freely give to know on earth that my Franklin do live. To break the ice, to be an icebreaker, to search for that place in which we are all connected, not separate, in which what happens to one happens to all, in which what happens to one happens to all, to traverse an archipelagic waterway, to imagine the night a new song was born, Stan Rogers driving alone in his folk singer's four-wheeled vessel, remembering the sound of my father, singing in the front seat to keep himself awake, my brother and I in the back seat, oncoming headlights flickering over us like waves, adrift on an ocean of ghosts, song after song. To sing these songs now, like sharp tools that have been handed to me without instructions. Oh, for just one time, I would take the Northwest Passage, to make passage, to trace a line, find the end of a river, the nerve that wanders, that wraps around the parts of us that sing.